Hello, everyone. How's it going? Today we're going to be getting into competitive for newer players. I know people have been asking for this, and I'll try to give some insight on what I have, and hopefully this will help out newer players grasp the concept of the competitive playlist and be able to further their rank within the competitive playlist. Now, understand, I'm by no means any expert. A lot of times I only play the competitive playlist just to get the weapon because I feel like Trials is more of the competitive playlist than competitive playlist. But if you're really feeling that itch for some PvP, it is definitely a good place to go and to be competitive within Destiny. One thing to note though, and something that every new player should really understand, is Destiny has some wacky mechanics and should only be taken seriously to an extent. If you're not having fun at the playlist, then don't play it. But if you want to become better, then understand that there's a lot of wacky and broken things, and that's just the nature of Destiny. But there are ways to play around those wacky and broken things, so it just takes some time to understand how those things fit and take advantage of the weaknesses in those broken things. Because most of the time, those wacky, broken things have pretty big weaknesses. So starting out, what we're going to be looking at is what to expect from the competitive playlist. What are the game modes for the competitive playlist? You have Survival, Showdown, and Rift. We're going to start with Rift. I don't know if Rift is going to be staying too long in competitive. From my understanding, many people don't like Rift in competitive, and I mean it's even disabled right now. I get the feeling that in future updates it is going to be removed, so we're not going to focus as much on Rift. Now second, we're going to be talking about Survival. What is Survival? Survival is a 3v3 game mode similar to Elimination, but you have a limited number of lives, so you do get a respawn in this game mode. It is 4 extra lives per team. That means everybody on your team gets an extra life plus 1, and this is shared amongst your whole team, so one guy could use all your lives. Showdown. Showdown also is a 3v3 game mode, and it plays similarly to Elimination, but when you get a kill or the enemy team gets killed, they get a point. Now this point can be canceled out by rezzing, but the person that is killed will have a respawn timer, so if their teammates do not res them in time, they will automatically respawn, and the team that got the kill will gain a point. And it's whoever has the highest points at the end of the round wins the round, and the most round wins the game. Same with Survival, the most round wins win the game. So they don't play too differently to Elimination. There's just like small twists to them. But for Showdown, definitely be looking to revive your teammates. Survival, you cannot revive your teammates. You have limited lives. And again, Rift, probably is on its way out, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. It's also disabled at the moment. Good luck if you get Rift in competitive and it doesn't go away for a while. It's only on a few maps. So what are the weapons for competitive? This season, Season of the Witch, is the Mercurial Overreach sniper rifle. And in future seasons, there might be different weapons. I don't know what there will be yet. There've been some hints on I think a stasis pulse rifle, but I could be wrong. But usually these weapons are some of the best in PvP. They have some monster stats and some pretty good perks. Now, how do you get these weapons? At the start of the season, you will have to play 7 games to place, and then you'll have to play 3 games to get the weapon. So a total of 10 games to get the weapon for the first time, and each week after that you just have to play in the playlist 3 games and you will get a new weapon with a new drop. It is not that hard. You don't need to win, you just have to play. How does the playlist work? Well, when you win games you go up in rank, and when you lose games you go down in rank. I'm not really sure on how much weight is given to the enemies you play against, your teammates, like how much rank you will gain because of those things. So you just have to play by ear. Just know if you're winning games, you will go up. If you're losing games, you will go down. Not too complicated, just like any other rank in any other game. And I know there's going to be some updates to the competitive playlist here in the future that kind of streamlines this and makes it more understandable and gives you an idea of how much you're going to gain and lose. And usually not lose more than you gain. So like I said, the meat and the potatoes of this video, the map we're going to be looking at is Burnout. This is an old-time classic of the map from D1. This is the map that is fairly basic and simple and easy to understand. There's not a lot to it, and this is one that kind of differs from Trials because they've changed the spawns in Trials. Now I do not know if they changed the spawns in Comp. I don't think they have, because Comp plays slightly different than Trials now. Trials is an elimination. It is Dominion now, so there's some changes to the map spawns. So as you can see from the map, you have these ISs in the corner. They stand for initial spawns. These are where you would spawn at the start of a round, and you have the game modes on this map would be survival and showdown. Very basic, very easy to understand. Now, off these spawns, you may have many different options of where to go. A lot of people's initial instinct is to run straight ahead and try to peek a lane that people are looking at. As you can see, there are many different places you can go, and these X's are the contested areas. The red obviously is a slower spawn, the blue is the top spawn, and you have places where you are more than likely to run into contested areas after you spawn. Now, these aren't every time, but these are most times. So this one at the bottom right, I don't know if you can see my cursor. This area here, right, looking at this area, is one of the initial sniper lanes that people like to come and look at. And I have a little thing here. You can see all the lines of sight, and these are major contested points of basically at the start of the round. And on the blue side, you're going to have it here, and they kind of look in between each other. This is something that a lot of people, if you feel very, very confident about about sniping, you can go and do, but I would not recommend it. This is an easy way to lose an ego duel and then be down one immediately, especially in survival showdown. It's less of a issue because you probably could get a res before the enemy team gets there, but I wouldn't risk it unless you're super confident. That's another thing. Ego dueling with snipers, probably not the best idea, because more often than not you might find yourself just losing those ego duels, and now you're down either a life or down a point. Now, outside has a slight disadvantage because they do have to go through these areas here. That's why it's recommended that you get inside quick when you're on the blue side to make sure that you're setting up. You're getting into these areas of contested. Make sure you're getting into the areas that are contested points for the red team so that you can catch them before they start taking map control from you. So the layout of the map here, there are major 3 lanes. It's pretty symmetrical. I wouldn't count this middle one as a lane because it's very hard to see directly through it, but these are the major lanes that you need to be watching out for. And like I said, there are some major lines of sight. Now this one's up on some high ground to some high ground in here. This one is from low ground to high ground, low ground to high ground, low ground to high ground. And that's why I said the outside, this red sign has a disadvantage, is because you're going to be pushing from the low ground into the high ground. That's why it's recommended to get in there first and try to establish some map control. Now, what is map control in this map? Now, this is crazy, but you have in pink, you have strong positions, and in this teal or this blue, you have map control. These map control will be the points that you want to control. These are the points you want to be watching. These are the points that are the most important on the map, but you don't necessarily have to hold inside of them. Strong positions are places that you should be watching out for or being in, right? As you can see, there's a lot more strong positions in the inside of the map rather than the outside of the map, but there are some strong positions on the outside of the map. Oh, also a note, capture point if you're tied is in the middle, if you can see that. Now we're going to start over here on this left side. The reason why you want to control this is because it's an easy entrance to control. You have up here, you have in here, you have back here. There's many different areas you can sit to kind of prevent people from pushing in, and it's very hard if they want to push in to actually see you first, because they have to be looking at all three different ways. That's why I'd recommend, if you see someone on your radar watching one of these doors, unless you are super confident, the most confident of the confident, don't push into there. There's only 3 people on their team. More than likely, you can find one of these areas that isn't contested or push in with a teammate. Now into the middle, the reason why you want to control this is because heavy spawns here and the control point spawns here. This is also the largest area of the map, and you can kind of, if you do get a kill like in survival, you can kind of move to catch people off spawns to take more lives before they even get a chance. And the same with showdown. You can, if somebody's respawning and you're in the middle, you can easily get to any point in the map and contest them before they can get back to their team. That's why it's very important that you watch this middle area, because if one team wins a fight, odds are they're going to be crossing the middle area to try to catch people off spawn. So be very, very wary of it. Now, something I forgot to mention is sometimes this back area here, altar, is a place you could try to hold map control. And if you do, if you hold these points here on the side, it is very easy for you to hold map control if you hold it on the bridge too. Like, anybody in here is going to have a tough time fighting their way out. Now onto this right side, you want to have map control of the staircase here because it is a strong position, and when this wheel moves here, you have lines of sight into here all the way across. Like, it's very important to hold that. And also another thing, another doorway, another hallway, that's very easy to hold from up here and back here. Like, it is very important if somebody's trying to move through there, it is very easy to get kills through there because they have nowhere to go. If they start moving into here, then they're going to have to, if you start shooting at them from up here, then they're going to have to back out or try to challenge you. And it is a very bad position for somebody to get caught in. Now, here's a little tip. It might be good, it might not be good. Like I was saying before, you're going to have all these off spawns running. Somebody's going to win the fight. There's going to be, whether your team loses 2 or 1 and the other team, their whole team dies, they're going to be spawning. So say you won the fight and you spawned on this side and you're somewhere over here in the middle, like your team spread out over here. What is the most likely position that they're going to spawn? I'll give you a few seconds. The most likely position is probably back at their original spawn, maybe over here, maybe over here, and maybe back here. That should be the spawn locations that they would go to. And the reason why it's important to know this is because, like I said, you could move to try to cut them off before they either regroup with their team or have a free like 2v1. An important thing to note about spawns, and this works on every map, is that generally, not every time, because God knows it doesn't happen every time, but generally, on most maps, you will spawn, or the enemy team will spawn the furthest points away from you or the enemy team. So it's a good thing to have in your mind, like, oh shoot, 2 of them died. More than likely, they're going to be spawning the furthest point away from us. So another example would be, say you killed them, say you pushed from blue side and you got the kills here, you're about here with your team, your whole team's over here. They could spawn out here, but you need to be watching out. They might spawn behind you, back in this corner, back here. And it's very easy if this wheel is not in the way, they can see you immediately off spawn. So that's why it's important, like, not to memorize spawns, but to understand that if somebody dies, they're going to be spawning somewhere else. Especially if their whole team dies, you need to be looking on the radar, where are they? And that leads me into my next point. As you can see on screen, a radar. Why is it important for a radar? Well, this leans into map awareness, where people are, how they can see you, what the lines of sights are, and too many players, when they're playing PvP, are not very aware. They will get very tunnel vision, they'll be staring down their sights, and their radar will be pinging, but they can't see their radar because they're ADS'd, and they get shot in the side or shot in the back because they were so tunnel vision that they could not see. So a very important thing to always be having in the back of your mind, not only like spawns, but map awareness. Like, oh, my radar is pinging over here. I should be keep watching my radar. If I don't need ADS, then I will keep watching my radar and wait till somebody peeks, or I peek, or however it's going. You should always be, the way we put it in the military is that your head should always be on a swivel. You should always be 360 degrees. The unique thing about Destiny is that you don't have to worry about, always turning. You have a radar. You can tell where people are generally. And another thing with map awareness is being able to hear sound cues, like somebody going invisible, a hunter dodge, a titan jump, a warlock jump, Icarus dash, all these things. Did somebody use a grenade? Did somebody heal themselves? Did somebody throw a trip mine? These are things you could be listening out for. Also, did somebody pop a super? Because supers have very unique sounds. That's another thing that comes with map awareness, is just having sound cues kind of known in your mind. That's why it's good maybe before you go into comp playlists or even trials that you go and play control, because there's a lot of sounds, a lot of different things going on all at once, and to be able to pick up on it in control, the skill will only be greater when you go into comp or trials. Now, another thing a lot of people do not think about when they go into comp, I showed you that map list. There are so many maps in the pool. You do not know what you're going to get. So it's important to have long-range weapons, mid-range weapons, and short-range weapons in your inventory ready to swap just in case you get Vostok. That is a very long-range heavy map. And if you go in there with an SMG and a shotgun and the enemy team is playing really far back, you're not going to be having too good of a game. Kind of understand what I'm getting at? You should have a few weapons that you feel comfortable with at many different ranges so that you can take advantage of what the map has to offer rather than being subjected to what just your loadout is. Last but not least, a very important point, adapting to enemy players. Now, if you're on a short range map, maybe even a long range map, but the enemy players are playing in a short run and gun kind of play style, but you don't have anything to counter it. Like, they're just running and gunning with shotguns, and you're not even thinking in your mind, maybe I need to do something to actually be able to contest this. Whether that be pulling out your own shotgun and trying to win the shotgun 1v1, but I wouldn't recommend that because that's always usually a toss-up. Sometimes the shotguns work, sometimes the shotguns don't work. But understanding that maybe you need to hold a little bit further back because they're going to rush. Have a little bit of range on them so they have to really close the distance to even use their loadout, or using weapons like fusion rifles because you can charge it up before they come around the corner and hit them as they're turning the corner and they can't do anything about it, or trying to beat them at the short range, outrush them. But if somebody's really committed to the rush, they're probably pretty good at it and it's going to be hard to outrush them. But it's just more or less adapting to what the enemy team is doing. And again, another example, if they're playing long range, understanding that you need to close the distance and having some way to do it, whether that be your own long range or using cover to bound forward and try to get close to them, or team shotting with your teammates. One big thing I always see when I'm playing Crucible is that you will get into engagement with an enemy and your teammates either are too far back, they can't take advantage of it, which is fine. That's on them for playing like that. It's on me for playing like that. But also there's other instances where your teammates are right next to you, but they don't peek the guy with you, which is ultra frustrating. If you see your teammate in a fight, try to help them, whether that be throwing a grenade, whether that be peeking, maybe at a different angle than what your teammate is. Or if they start to take cover, then you re-peek the same angle so that that person that was fighting gets caught off guard. Because odds are, if they're coming out of a fight with someone and nobody died, somebody's hurt and you might have the advantage on them. And this is really coming down to learning the flow of the fight, learning how to engage. There's so many things I could be talking about, and how kind of PvP works, how battle kind of works, and how engagements kind of work. But maybe we'll get into that in another video, but this is just a very basic video of how comp functions and how you could take advantage of it, little tidbits. I showed you one map that, there's map control and You can apply this to other maps. You don't really necessarily have to completely learn strong positions and map control, but I would say the most important thing is map awareness, spawns, weapons. If you can learn those things, you will have a much better time in comp than if you didn't. And that just comes with playing Destiny PvP. I personally have been playing since D1, early D1. So I've learned how Destiny PvP functions, and it's like your second nature to me. So I usually don't have a hard time. If you're new to this kind of a game, then it's really important to take the time to understand the maps, or be really watching your radar, or really understanding your ranges and what you should be fighting at and how you should be fighting. Should you get closer? Should you get further? Is the enemy team going to try to do this every time? Are they not going to try to do this every time? Can I exploit some weakness in the enemy team? Is there always a guy who's running off alone that me and my teammate can jump on before his teammates can react? Or did we kill two guys? We have a general knowledge of where they might spawn. Like, all these things are kind of things you get as playing. And I will say, the more you play, the better you're going to get at it. But this is just a basic breakdown of comp for new players, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and comment anything I didn't cover, and maybe if you like this video, let me know. Maybe I might make a part 2 where I go down how the flow of engagements, how to engage certain playstyles, certain things, if you guys enjoy it. But again, I thank you for your time, and I will see you all later.